Broadcasting live from the NHTV studios in North Haven, Connecticut. This is the Open Mic TV show. I'm your host, Michael CUOMO. Welcome along on this Wednesday night, June 26th, 2013. I am back, ladies and gentlemen. Good to be back here at NHTV after a long hiatus, getting myself established in my personal life. I'm back. It is my goal now that I am back here doing the Open Mic show to be here each and every Wednesday night, 8 to 9 p.m. live, and provide you, the viewers, the fans, great family entertainment on a weekly basis. Very excited, if you want to call this the new season. I'm going to be having some special guests lined up that I'll be talking about later in the show that are coming on in the next several weeks. Again, if you saw in the North Haven Advisor, I had a nice article that they wrote about the Open Mic show for the last couple editions. In the article, it states if anybody out there knows of any special guests that you think would make a good addition to the show to come on as a special guest, by all means, I would be interested in hearing about it. And you can contact either the NHTV studios at 203-234-0025, which, by the way, is the phone number to call in tonight. If you have any questions, comments, just want to call and say hi. I'm going to get to a trivia question in a minute where you can win an Open Mic coffee mug. But getting back to the North Haven Advisor, I want to thank them for writing a great article again. It was published about 2 weeks ago. It ran for 2 weeks in the Advisor, talking about the show. The show. I'm back on the information about the time, what channels you can see it. Which, just to give you a quick rerun on that, you're either watching the show tonight in one of two ways. One is if you live in the great town of North Haven and you have Comcast, you're able to watch the show on channel 18. And the second way that you can watch the Open Mic TV show is you can live anywhere in the state of Connecticut. If you have AT&T U-verse, you can watch me on channel 99. And when you go to channel 99, you want to just scroll down to the town that the show originates in, which would be North Haven, obviously. So go to channel 99, scroll down to North Haven, and then you click on channel 18 for the local cable access channel, and it'll bring up the show. If the producer Nick can put down on the bottom of the screen our Facebook and YouTube address, which you can obviously go to facebook.com/openmic80 and also facebook.com/openmictv, youtube.com/openmic80. Those are the two addresses, and Nick, the producer, will have those up for you momentarily on the bottom of the screen. Again, the number 203-234-0025. There it is on the top right of your screen. Give me a call. It's been a few months since I've been on. I think back in March was my last show. Like I said, took some time off. Regrouped, got some things done personally. I'm ready to go now. There's no other things that are going to be coming up to take me away from the show, except the upcoming wedding, which I don't know if people know about, but I am getting married this October. So I will be off for a couple weeks. And there's the credentials there on the bottom of the screen, YouTube and Facebook. So write down those addresses. We're going to try to have weekly episodes. So tonight's show we'll try to get on YouTube for tomorrow, next week, and so on and so on. In case you missed the show, you watched late, or you want to tell someone about it who lives out of state, you can give them the YouTube address and they can go on there. So good to be back, as I mentioned to you, ladies and gentlemen. Looking forward to another long stint here with NHTV. And, as some of you may or may not know, I initially started my Open Mic show, not my TV career, but the Open Mic show over in Wallingford, and then came over to NHTV as of January 1st of this year. And now I'm back for, I guess, my second season. First season was somewhat abbreviated. There were some scheduling conflicts here at NHTV. with other shows, and you know, obviously studio usage. There's only so many shows and times that you can accommodate everyone. So I want to you know, thank Walter Mann for allowing me the opportunity to come back to NHTV to do the open mic show. I know Walter's out there watching tonight, and so anyway, that's a little history of how I got here at NHTV, doing about a 2-year stint over at WPAA in Wallingford prior to coming here to NHTV. But looking forward to the new audience, to you know, a different format, if you will, here with the open mic show. We got a great crew in the back that's ready to take your calls and feed them through to me at 203-234-0025. Again, if anyone out there knows of any guests that you, or when I say guests, people that you know, they could be from any walks of life, any background. It could be an interesting affiliation or organization that they're affiliated with. It could be some sort of remarkable life event that happened to them. It could be just someone that might be well known in the area, and you want them, you know, he or she to come on the show here and talk. I mean, I'd love to have them on. You can reach me obviously through Facebook, or you could contact the studio 203-234-0025. I'm going to stop rambling for a second. I'm going to get to the trivia question, because that was a long intro. But again, when you're not on for 3 months, you want to catch up with some stuff. And before I get to the trivia question, I was just told that we have our first caller of the night. So we are going to get to our first caller. And again, 203-234-0025 is the number. And let's get to our first caller. Good evening, caller. You're live on the Open Mic TV show.
Good evening, Mr. CUOMO. Great to see you back on the airwaves.
Hey, Mr. Dacey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the second season of Open Mic.
Yes, so am I. It's good to be back here at NHTV, and my shout-outs to Walter Mann and you know, everyone in the back. I got Nick, Zach, and Brian, I believe, are the guys running the production crew tonight.
We have a great crew, as you know, at NHTV, and I'm proud myself to be part of the NHTV family.
That's right. You and Ed McCarver still doing your Talking with Tom show, correct?
Yes, we're in season 19, and it's hard to believe that January will be the start of the 20th year of Talking with Tom.
Wow. And your show is monthly still, right?
Yes, we will be back on the air next Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
July 2nd, with a very special guest, somebody that you know, Mike.
Oh, really? Who's that?
Our very good friend, Town Councilor Vinny Cervoni.
Oh, nice.
Will be our guest next week, and he will be talking to us about his career in politics and various other things, and he'll be performing live in the studio. As you know, he is a local musician.
That's right. He's going to be playing a little guitar for you, huh?
Yeah.
Great.
So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I had Vinny on, I think, once on the show back in Wallingford, and he was a great guest, you know, and I'd like to have him on again. I would certainly reach out to him for an upcoming show.
And of course, as you know, he is a local attorney as well, so we'll be talking to him about that as well.
Yeah, that's right. He just opened up a new office, if you will, right? He relocated from one old office to a new one in Wallingford?
Yes, and as you know, he's helping me with a situation currently.
That's right, yeah. I heard about that through the Facebook chat, if you will, or chatter.
But I just wanted to comment, Mike, what do you think about the collapse of the Boston Bruins?
Well, yeah, I got some sports news here I was going to get to later, but the Blackhawks won 2 Stanley Cups in the last 4 years. I mean, I don't want to call them a dynasty, but I mean, it would have been nice to see the Bruins win just because of, you know, the Boston bombings that took place.
Yeah.
Tom, I think the whole city of Boston's in turmoil. They just today, Doc Rivers left the Celtics to go to the Clippers.
Oh, my God.
The big story that I'm going to get to momentarily is actually my national news regarding Aaron Hernandez, who is now officially charged with first-degree murder and released from the Patriots.
Earlier on the news.
I mean, this is ridiculous. And what else is going on up in Beantown? I mean, the Red Sox are barely, holding on to first place. But a lot of changes are going on up there. It would have been nice to see the Bruins win. Maybe it would have shifted some of the attention away from this Hernandez ordeal, but it wasn't their year. But it was a good run.
Well, you know my feeling on the Red Sox. Even if we don't win the World Series, as long as we finish ahead of the New York Skankies and that old relic Ed McCarver's New York Mets, or as we call them, the Manila Folders.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the Mets are in any talks, Tom, of winning anything this year, besides the last place trophy. But I actually want to, I was going to talk about the Mets later in the show as well regarding their ace, Matt Harvey, who is from Connecticut. I think he's from New London. And he is, in my opinion, he's bound to be the next Tom Seaver. I mean,
there's a name from the past, huh?
Yeah. I mean, he's pitching like a young Tom Seaver. He's, I think, 7-1. He's already getting talks about having the National League Cy Young, award go to him. Obviously, it's too soon to tell, or the National League MVP. But we'll see. I mean, Matt Harvey is certainly, it's a good story because the kid's from Connecticut and local homegrown kid, and he is now becoming a household name. So I guess the Mets got that going for him, but besides that, it's just a typical another year for the Mets,
Absolutely. Keep up the great work, Mike, and will I see you after the show?
Yeah, I'm going to have a copy here of tonight's show. I'll drop it off to you. I know you live a little far being in Greenwich, but I'll get over as soon as I can after the show.
Okay, take care, Mike.
All right, Tom. Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, first caller of the night, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Dacey. As you heard, he and Ed McCarver do a show right out of the same studio, Talking with Tom. I think it's the first Tuesday of every month, so I think they're on 7 to 8 or 8 to 9, but you can obviously look on his Facebook page. But yeah, so good to hear from Tom, who, by the way, uploads all of my YouTube. In the past, he's uploaded all my YouTube reruns, so if it wasn't for Tom, I wouldn't have any of my episodes replayed on YouTube, so I thank him for that. And besides driving to Greenwich after the show, I mean, it's well worth the trip, So anyway, give me a call, 203-234-0025. The show's flying by. I haven't even gotten to the trivia question yet, or my news, but let's get to the trivia question. And just to give you a little quick rundown, each and every week, I'm going to give you the opportunity to win a brand new open mic with Michael CUOMO coffee mug. As you can see here, I'm going to have it right there on the table. I know it's kind of hidden, but my YouTube, there it is. Okay, thank you, Nick. There is the mug that is up for grabs each and every week, and all I'm going to do is have a trivia question. Now, some of these trivia questions aren't going to be related to any story that's currently taking place or any news story that's currently taking place. Some of them are going to come from left field, but believe me, I'm going to try to make them somewhat hard, but yet somewhat easy that you could, hopefully not have to Google search the answer. You can just try to think about it, and if you need to look online, I know people are going to do it. But the first person to call in with the right answer, and you could be a caller that already called in or, first time calling, it's fair game. So whoever calls in first, answers the question correctly, will get the open mic mug. So let me throw the question out there for you. Tonight's trivia question, which actually has to do with a story that I'm going to be talking about. Just happens to be, but it won't always be the case each and every week. Who was the first person to survive a trip over Niagara Falls in a barrel, and in what year did it take place? Some of you may know this, some of you may not. Easy enough to probably look online, but we'll test your knowledge. So who was the first person to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel and survive. The key word is survive. And what year did it take place? Give me a call, 203-234-0025. With a correct answer, first person will win the open mic mug, which again is right here for your viewing pleasure. So anyway, let's get on to some news. We got some plenty of news to get to. I certainly can't catch up with the last 3 months that I've been off the airwaves to talk about everything that's going on. You know, I talked about the Boston bombings a few minutes ago with Tom. You know, Jodi Arias was charged with murder or found guilty in her murder trial. You know, there's been a lot of big stories going on in the last 3 months, probably another 10 of them that I just can't think of right now under the gun. But let's get to the current situation, the current big news story. As you heard me talk about, it ties in with my sports report or sports news later, but it is national news, probably world news at this point, and that is the former New England Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez, who actually, as I was speaking about Matt Harvey a few minutes ago being homegrown, Aaron Hernandez is also a homegrown athlete who grew up in Bristol, Connecticut, went to school in Florida, and you know, obviously got drafted by the Patriots. Now, he is, as of today, no longer a New England Patriot. As of this morning, the Patriots officially released him from the team, which was a shock, if you will, but you almost saw it coming. And it happened, I think, 2 hours after the news came out that Aaron Hernandez was arrested once a warrant was executed. In case you're not familiar with the whole story, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, there was a gentleman, a young man who actually was an up-and-coming football star who was hanging out with Aaron Hernandez in North Attleboro, Mass., where he lived. And the so-called story is that this young African-American football player somehow disrespected Aaron Hernandez. And as a result of this, Aaron Hernandez felt disrespected. He actually drove this football player out to this, you know, gravel area near his house and shot him execution style, which was about a mile from his house. Then went back to his house, hired a cleaning crew to, you know, clean up his whole house. He broke his cell phone to basically hide any evidence. Basically, it was an obstruction of justice, if you will. As the facts came in and more information came in, we then found out that Aaron Hernandez was the person, as we can tell, involved with killing this person, and therefore there was a first-degree murder warrant issued, and he was arrested. I'll get to the other part of the story in a second. We do have another call, so let's get to our caller. Good evening, caller. You're live on the Open Mic Show.
Well, thank goodness my Wednesday nights are back to normal.
Hey, Mr. McCarver.
Oh, how are you, Michael?
Good. How are you, sir?
Good, and it's good to have you back on these fine NHT airwaves that I'm watching from my clear, crisp UVer signal here in Wallingford.
On your 60-inch television, right?
Yes.
Well, good to hear from you, and I'm glad to be back. It's I think it was about 3 months or so since I've been doing the show. I think it was around March, maybe.
Yeah, and sometimes it's good to take some time off, take a sabbatical, and kind of regroup. I can't tell you how often I'd like to take a 3-month sabbatical, say, from my marriage to regroup. But it's good to have you back on the airwaves.
Thank you very much, Ed. And I feel like I'm back at home. I had Tom call. I had you call now, and this is great, you know. And well, tell me what's on your mind, Ed, because I'm sure you want to talk about Aaron Hernandez.
Well, I tell you, I didn't know if I was watching, The Young and the Restless, General Hospital, or the Aaron Hernandez case. As a retiree, I do have a lot of free time on my hands, so I put on ESPN for a minute, and I tell you, I thought I was watching the OJ case again with the cameras following Hernandez after he left the jail, and
right.
It really is a tragic story.
Yeah.
I was thinking if he was let out on bail, that I'm sure the first thing that happened with Rex Ryan would try and sign him up for our beloved Jets. But now that he didn't, he's not going to be on bail. It's a sad story, and it's too bad because he is an amazing talent.
He is. I mean, obviously there was a person who lost their life here, but selfishly, and I'm looking at it only as a football fan,
yeah,
and you and I are both in the same division, for the Jets, Bills, and Dolphins, this is actually good news, if you will, in the term that, in the sense that he's no longer in our division. I don't think he's ever going to play football again.
No, I don't think so either. And it'll be interesting to watch Bill Belichick when, the next press conference he has. They're going to talk about Aaron Hernandez. And I watched Bill Belichick squirm a couple of weeks ago after the Patriots signed up Tim Tebow. And the press, that's all the press wanted to talk about was Tebow. And,
right.
It was actually comical to watch.
Who, ironically, Tebow played with Hernandez down in Florida.
That's right. I forgot about that.
They were teammates, and... so I don't know what's going to... I mean, Tebow's another thing. Thank you for bringing him up. I totally forgot about him because it's been sidetracked and distorted with this Hernandez thing. But here's Aaron Hernandez, who's 23 years old, just signed a 5-year, $40 million contract, had the world in his hands, played for arguably one of the best quarterbacks who's ever lived.
Yep.
And he basically peed all that away.
Yep.
And, as I was mentioning... The latest that I heard up until, the air tonight, 8 o'clock, was the person he killed somehow disrespected him, and Aaron Hernandez obviously took exception to it and, shot him execution style.
Yeah,
now,
when I heard that, and they said, first-degree murder, and I think there were 5 gun violations that he's charged with, too. But it'll be a long, drawn-out story, and, it'll be, I'm sure... WFAN will talk about it, and I'm sure all the Boston sports stations will talk about it.
Yeah.
It's been tough for Boston. I didn't realize. I guess Tommy had mentioned you had talked about what happened at the marathon, and then 2 nights ago the Boston Bruins lost any chance to get Lord Stanley's Cup, and now the Patriots with this. It's been a tough couple of months for our beloved city up in Boston.
And don't forget, Doc Rivers just went to the Clippers today.
Oh, yes, I did. I forgot about that.
It's like, one thing after another. I mean, the whole city's just crumbling before our eyes.
Yeah, the Red Sox are in first place. I'm only a fringe baseball.
2.5 games, but yeah.
2.5, so.
Yeah.
So happens.
But I will give you credit. Speaking of baseball, your ace there, Matt Harvey. I mean, do you think he's another up-and-coming Tom Seaver?
I think so. The pride of Mystic, Connecticut, doing us.
Oh, it's Mystic. I thought New London, but I knew it was in that area.
Yeah. New London, Groton.
Okay.
As long as it's within Connecticut's borders, we'll take them.
That's great. And you got Zach Wheeler, who just started for you. I think he's pitching tonight, right? His second start.
Yeah. Actually, I think he pitched last night, but
did he?
You may be right. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. He did. I fell asleep in the first inning.
Yeah. So did he too. I think they lost. So. But,
same old Mets,
Yeah. Well, all right, Michael. That's it for me tonight. I was going to private message you on Facebook because I was scheduled to go to a concert tonight. C8 to the Bar up in Hartford. And, I didn't want to call you from the concert, but
it's all right.
But the concert was postponed, so gave me a chance to talk to you live here. But you look good, and look forward to a successful season 2.
Great. Thank you so much for calling, Ed.
All right, Michael. You have a good night.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, there we go. We had Tom Dacey call, and we were followed by his co-host, Ed McCarver, who, again, they do the Talking with Tom TV show here every first Tuesday of every month here at NHTV. So very good to hear from both of them. Very good friends of mine and supporters of the Open Mic Show. And that's all I could ask for is people's support out there. So pick up the phone, 203-234-0025. Make the phone call. Don't be shy. If you want to talk about the Aaron Hernandez situation, if you want to talk about any sports-related topic, the Bruins, the Miami Heat winning their second straight NBA title. If you want to talk about and hopefully answer the trivia question, which I'll give to you once again, who was the first person to survive a trip over Niagara Falls in a barrel, and in what year did it take place? Give me a call for your chance to win an open mic mug at 203-234-0025. And as you can see on the bottom of the screen, ladies and gentlemen, our Facebook and YouTube addresses where you can check out reruns of the open mic show. You can become a fan and like the open mic show on Facebook, in which you'll be informed of any guests coming up, late breaking news, information, etc. Which reminds me, let me get to the guests. There's 2 guests booked so far. Working on getting a lot more. It's that time of year where a lot of people are, off work, they're on vacation, kids are, out of school, getting out of school shortly. So you have to kind of find people when they're able to come on, obviously due to scheduling purposes. But 2 dates that I do have confirmed, back-to-back weeks, if you want to mark this on your calendar. Wednesday night, July 10th, will be my first guest of the new season. I'm going to have a gentleman on by the name of Michael Bouchard, Bouchard. He's going to be on to talk about a company that he owns, which is basically a fitness, health and fitness company where he, gets people motivated to, work out, eat healthy, enjoy a very healthy lifestyle, follow a good lifestyle. He tries to instill those good, healthy guidelines into people, try to motivate people, etc. So I want to have him on to talk about, some advice, some training techniques, what people should and shouldn't do when they do go to a gym, for example, a Planet Fitness or a Club 24 or whatever gym you might go to. So Wednesday, July 10th, Mike Bouchard will be on here. It'll be a fitness hour. He'll be taking your phone calls, so be sure to get ready to call him with any questions you have about, fitness, training, advice about healthy eating, healthy lifestyle, etc. And then the following Wednesday, July 17th, will be a gentleman from a local business in North Haven on Route 5 called Uncle B's Bait and Tackle. His name is Charlie, and he is the owner, and I'd like to have him on to talk about some fishing topics. We're going to have Charlie on from Uncle B's talking about some new fishing regulations here in the state of Connecticut. What's the minimum for certain types of fish? How big do they have to be? How long? What's the daily allowed, creel as they call it, on certain fish? Where are some good spots for all you fishermen out there here in the general, North Haven, Wallingford, Meriden area that Charlie would recommend you try? Also, I'm going to talk to Charlie about some of his customers that he gets that over the years have maybe, brought in some ginormous trophy fish that he witnessed or saw and took photos of and can attest that these fish were, real. And we can maybe see where some of these fish were caught, what lures or bait was used to catch these fish. If he has any stories of his own personal fishing excursions and expeditions. So it's really, it'll be a cool show. I'm actually a big fisherman. I love to go fishing in my spare time. I was actually fishing this morning and unfortunately didn't catch anything. I think a lot of that has to do with this weather we've been having, the rain. Just was an off day. So I won't tell you where I was because it's a very good spot for me. But I was skunked this morning, and I left after 20 minutes and was pretty upset. But, hey, that's why they call it fishing. So mark those 2 dates down. July 10th is Mike Bouchard. July 17th will be Charlie, who, I don't know, we'll call him Charlie Uncle B because I don't know his last name, and I apologize. I should have his last name, but he'll be on the 17th. And again, I'm trying to get more and more guests on, not just people that might own a business, although that is interesting, but it could be people that are part of a foundation, affiliated with some sort of group or organization that they want to come on. If you know someone that wants to talk about an upcoming event, fundraiser, charity event, something that may have happened personally to you that you want to come on and talk about. It could be from any walks of life, any background, as the show is indicative of, open mic, meaning open topics, open forum, so please don't feel that whatever your idea is or whoever you think would be a good guest and you're going to say, oh, I don't think that would be a good person, I'm embarrassed to even recommend he or she. By all means, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact the studio, 203-234-0025. Leave the information with them, and I'll certainly get back in touch with you. Or you can reach out to me on Facebook.com/OpenMicTV, and you can contact me that way as well. So there's many different avenues for you to go. So that's the upcoming guests, and I'm working on more and more as time goes on. So believe in me that I am going to try to get as many guests on as possible. As much as I like talking up here for an hour and taking phone calls and doing this all live, nothing's pre-scripted. It's all live on the fly. I certainly feel that I would excel even better at doing a show with a guest on. To the right of me, to the left of me, at the other table here in the studio, where I can interview people and ask them questions that you, the viewers, want to know, and try to be that messenger, if you will. I'll ask the hard questions, I'll get the answers, I'll ask questions that most people won't because they're afraid to, but I will do my best to bring on guests that I could ask those questions to, and hopefully draw a nice audience. So that's the goal here, to provide entertainment for you each and every week, and trying my best, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let me just quickly wrap up this Aaron Hernandez story. So as of tonight's show at 8 o'clock when I came on, he was arrested. He was charged with first-degree murder, and he was denied bail. His lawyer was seeking bail. That was denied, so he is behind bars. Now they're gonna, I think the next court date, if I heard correctly, was July 24th. So we're not going to, hear of any other legal activity until July 24th, which I guess at that point they're going to set a trial date or pick a jury, or I don't know what the next step is, but I would assume that's the next step. But as I was talking to Ed about, take away this poor person that was killed, which obviously was tragic. What is actually happening now is the AFC East is becoming a more competitive, even keel division. The New England Patriots obviously were, the dynasty, the team to beat for the last decade. They've lost now. If you factor in Aaron Hernandez, Rob Gronkowski is going to be on the physically unable to perform list as of the start of the season due to his back surgery that he recently had, in addition to forearm surgeries. I think he had a shoulder surgery, another forearm surgery. This guy's had more surgeries in the last 5 or 6 months that I can count on, or count in two hands. He's got probably 5 or 6 surgeries. So we don't know the status of Gronkowski. Hernandez is gone. Wes Welker, who was Tom Brady's favorite target, is now in Denver. Danny Woodhead, who was the running back for the Patriots, another potent offensive weapon, is now in San Diego. And Tom Brady's last receiver was Brandon Lloyd, who's now a free agent. So the Patriots did sign Danny Amendola, wide receiver, formerly of the St. Louis Rams. Now, if he can stay healthy, that is certainly a good target. Problem with Danny Amendola is he can never stay healthy. His career shows that, and I don't see why I should believe he's now going to all of a sudden be healthier and stay healthy as he's getting older. So I just think that what this is now causing is any team in the AFC East, you can just flip a coin and you can say, okay, well, yeah, that team has a legitimate shot to win the division. Where if none of these events happen, it would certainly be the Patriots were the front runners or the favorites to win the division, win the Super Bowl. But obviously this is going to throw a wrench in the whole mix of things going on, and I think it certainly is going to, even the playing field. So that's one way to look at it. The other way, obviously, the more important thing is in the football aspect of it, but the young man who lost his life, tragically, obviously being shot execution style, and Aaron Hernandez is the prime suspect. We'll obviously keep you informed as the weeks go on. If new information comes out, which I'm sure there will be, I'll report on it as the weeks go on. And just a really crazy time up in Boston. All right, let's switch gears. The trivia question that I asked about and again I'll repeat it. Who was the first person to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel and survive? And in what year did it happen? Call me. That's the trivia question. You can win an open mic mug if you guess correctly. 203-234-0025. Sort of the reason I picked that trivia question is kind of tied into the next story. I don't know if anyone saw this, but a couple days ago, Nick Wallenda from the famous Flying Wallendas, famous family who, obviously have been in the circus for decades, performing, stunts and high wire acts. He just walked across the Grand Canyon on a high wire with no harness, believe it or not. It was shown live on the Discovery Channel, and he successfully completed this. The reason I bring up the trivia question was a year ago around this time, he, being Nick Wallenda, did a similar stunt in Niagara Falls where he was on a high wire and he walked across a high wire at night successfully. I don't know if you remember this, but it was, I think, on ABC or CBS, I can't remember, but he wore a harness at that particular time because the network was afraid if, God forbid, he fell off during this, stunt, that millions of people would see him fall to his death live. So he agreed to wear a harness, and he did so. And he crossed Niagara Falls successfully. He just crossed the Grand Canyon. I heard the latest is he wanted to do a high wire act from like the Sears Tower, or it's in New York City, I think from the Chrysler Building to Empire State Building. That's his next goal, but I heard New York City officials are shooting down that idea. They don't want it to happen, but I certainly think that would be cool. I don't know why they wouldn't want that to happen. I think it would generate a lot of tourists and money and business for the city. Obviously, security is a threat no matter where you go now. Big, large groups, outdoor events, you got to be careful. I understand that, but good for him. And I didn't realize, but he's only 34 years old. I mean, he's like my age, and he's performing these stunts, and his grandfather died from doing a similar high wire stunt at 73 years old. So he might have a good 40, 50 years left in him to continue doing these stunts. And certainly he's broken like 7 Guinness Book of World Records so far, was the last count that I heard. So good for Nick Wallenda. Someone I certainly admire what he does, but I have a personal fear of heights, so I would never do what he does. But hey, there's an ass for every toilet seat, as they say. All right, give me a call, ladies and gentlemen, 203-234-0025. We have about 20 minutes left in the program, believe it or not. It is flying by. As much as I wanted to come back tonight, I was actually afraid of how quickly the show was going to go by, and I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to talk about a lot of the topics that I have here. And I'm starting to prove myself right, because I still haven't gotten to 3/4 of the news and topics that I want to talk about. but it's okay because I took your phone calls. I'm catching up on the last 3 months that I haven't been on. I'm talking about some exciting upcoming guests that I'm going to have on. Talking about some news that's currently happening in the world. And, you know, again, there's only an hour that I can talk about all this, so we'll try to get as much information as we can to you in the 60 minutes that I'm given. I want to quickly touch up on 2 more national news things going on, and then I'm going to get to sports, and that'll probably round out the show because we're running out of time. The latest I've heard with Nelson Mandela, 95 years old, not doing too well. Looks like the end is near for him. He was in and out of the hospital over the last month or 2, and just when it looked like he was not going to make it, he was then released, or he was, you know, upgraded to stable. But now it looks like he is, you know, his condition is worsening, and, you know, they're just, his family's asking for prayers from all over the world. You know, an iconic figure in South Africa, and we'll see what happens with Nelson Mandela and his state, because I know once he passes, and to me, you know, I don't think he's like Zsa Zsa Gabor, she's about 94. She seems to have 9 lives, but I think his time is coming to an end. I just saw some of the photos. I just read some of the stories. It doesn't look, it looks very grave for Nelson Mandela. But once he does pass, you know, and I'm hoping it's not anytime soon, but I am realistic about the situation. I think that whole country is going to be on, you know, shutdown for, oh God, maybe the whole rest of the year. I mean, it's just, you know, it's one of those things where, like, they worship the ground he walks on, and I think that I don't know how they're going to react to his death. So we'll see. But speaking of how people are reacting, I don't know if you heard, but George Zimmer, who is the now 64-year-old white-bearded spokesperson for the Men's Warehouse, was recently fired from the company that he founded. Kind of a bizarre spin of events here. He had some of his, you know, firm stances on some company policies that the new board of directors did not agree with, and rather than trying to talk things through, they just basically canned him. You know, the company claims that George Zimmer wanted to sell the Men's Warehouse to an investment group, which would make the company take on a huge amount of debt, which they weren't willing to do. And as a reason, or as of these reasons, they just couldn't come to an agreement, and they basically fired him. From what I hear, he still has a 3% stake in the company. Last year, I think his salary was $2 million, which, you know, $2 million is a lot of money, but you would think someone like George Zimmer, who is such a well-known TV personality like myself, no, I'm just joking, he would make more than $2 million, you know, on a yearly basis. But I mean, I guess that's all he made. Maybe these new directors came in and lowered his salary, because you would think the guy was a billionaire. You know, the company as a whole, I think, is only worth about $500 million, and he has a 3% stake in it. So, but again, it's sad, because he actually started doing those commercials, I think, in the late 70s, early 80s. He took over for that little bald guy, I don't know his name, who kind of looked like a miniature Hulk Hogan with his hairstyle. And, you know, what was his slogan? "You're going to love the way you look," which is a very, you know, catchy phrase, but he'll now have plenty of time to come up with a new slogan, seeing that he is unemployed. But I don't think he's going to be hurting for money, so we don't have to feel too bad for George Zimmer. But just figured I'd throw that out there, you know. One of those, he kind of reminds me of that guy from the Dos Equis commercial. Stay thirsty, my friends. He looks very similar in stature, the same physical look and appearance, different accents, of course, but they could certainly pass for brothers. All right, so that's pretty much all I have for news. I mean, we got to some of the big topics that are out there, if you will, and I'm sure there's plenty more. I actually have a couple more that I don't. George Zimmerman trial just started on Monday. I mean, if you really care, this whole thing with him and Trayvon Martin, blah blah blah, down in Florida. But I think the next 15 minutes, I want to just now talk about some sports. That's really what I like to talk about is sports, and I understand I can't have a whole 60-minute show just talking about sports. I mean, I could, but once I get guests on, Charlie from Uncle B's and Mike Bouchard talking about sports training, I mean, how would I tie in fishing and sports? It's just I'm trying to keep it as an open talk show so I can talk about many topics, but if I had to pick one topic, I would pick probably the NFL as my main topic that I would love to talk about. But I am aware that we have, several different age groups and audiences watching from all different backgrounds, so I want to keep it interesting for everyone watching. I was just told we have another phone call, so let's get to our next call. Good evening, caller. You're live on the Open Mic TV show.
Hi, Mike. My name is Joe. I'm calling from Wallingford. I just wanted to see how your first show was back on air.
Good. I'm glad to be back on. I've had some great calls and got to talk about a lot of great news. Well, when I say great news, I mean some of it's sad, being the Aaron Hernandez story.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I am a huge Buffalo Bills fan. I'm glad that he's no longer part of the Patriots, but at the same time, there was someone who lost their life. But it is what it is, and this guy had the whole world in his hands at 23 years old, and he blew it.
Yeah, it's just a shame that somebody can have everything they want and just throw it all away in an instant. But
yeah.
As you know, because you're a Buffalo Bill fan, there's this kid from Buffalo that plays in the New England Patriots. He's coming back from an arm injury. He's a pretty good tight end in Gronkowski. So, I mean,
yeah.
If I was a Bills fan, I wouldn't be too excited yet. You still have to play against possibly the best tight end in the NFL right now.
Well, I mentioned Gronkowski earlier. He is actually rumored to be on the PUP list, which is the physically unable to perform list, as of the start of the season, because he just had back surgery.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But what I think is now that they have one less tight end in camp because they released Aaron Hernandez, the Patriots need to maneuver their roster a little bit less. So I think there might be more of a chance that Gronkowski makes the opening day roster. Might miss the first week, might miss the second week, but still be back before the 6-week window for the pup list. Now that they have that, for lack of a better term, roster flexibility that they didn't have otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree. I think Gronkowski will come back, after a couple weeks. The only problem is Welker's gone, Woodhead's gone, Hernandez is gone, and Brandon Lloyd is a free agent who I don't think is re-signed with the Pats. You got Danny Amendola, but I mean,
that kid Dobson out of Marshall. I mean, the Patriots had some pretty good luck with Troy Brown and Randy Moss, both out of Marshall. So I mean,
yeah.
Well, let's see how he does this year.
Right. I mean, the thing is, Tom Brady. It's amazing. Whoever you throw in there, whether it's a household name receiver or not, they just seem to work together. And I certainly wouldn't put it past Brady and Belichick to certainly make another run for the Super Bowl this year, but I just think that the AFC East is now going to be a more level playing field due to just what's happening, as we're watching all this stuff unfold.
Well, let's look at team by team. Miami, who knows what's going to happen with them? They seem to look like they're about to turn around, and they do horrible. You have the Bills, who's made some progress over the past couple of years, so great to that. Then you have the Jets, who seem worse than they were. For the past 2 years, they've gotten worse. So, I mean, yeah. I don't know. I still think that the Patriots still have a pretty good shot at the division.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Vegas has the Patriots as favorites. The Jets, Geno Smith, to me, I'm glad the Bills didn't draft him. I don't think the Jets really are going to make a push for anything. But I will say that the Miami Dolphins have made a lot of acquisitions in the offseason that actually scare me. Now, their quarterback, what's his name? I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head.
Tannehill?
Thank you, Ryan Tannehill. He seems to be a decent quarterback. I don't think he's a long-term answer. Neither was Chad Henne. But with the acquisition of Mike Wallace, they picked up a couple defensive names. I think someone from the Ravens, linebacker. I can't think of his name. This is the Dolphins I'm talking about. That was a good pick. I think it was a linebacker from the Ravens they picked up and some other defensive help. I really think the Dolphins have a legitimate shot to compete with New England. Being a Bills fan, I obviously hope the Bills can do it. But being realistic, I think the Bills will finish third place. The Jets will finish fourth. Miami second. New England first.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being realistic. I can't honestly say, and be, honest to say that the Bills will win the division. I like to think they will, but I'm being realistic, and it's going to be New England, Miami, Buffalo, and then the Jets. And this will be the last year of Rex Ryan. It's a one-and-done year now. There's no more extensions. This is it. Who knows? Maybe the Jets fire Rex Ryan, and then next year they bring in Bill Cowher.
Do you think Bill Cowher's going to want to leave his cushy job that he has now, calling games?
They're saying he's waiting for the right opportunity. Now, the rumor has it he's waiting for Coughlin to leave, or he was waiting for Belichick to leave. But maybe he'll come and take over the Jets. Who knows? But yeah, I agree. He does have a great. Actually, Bill Cowher was just involved in a traffic accident a couple days ago in New York City where someone hit him and totaled his Mercedes, but he was okay. But I guess it'd have to be the right fit, the right price tag to get him to leave his cushy seat, to get back into coaching, because we all know that's a very stressful job, and what he does now is obviously not stressful.
Yes, as we know, TV hosting, right? A little bit easier than running a football team.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially every other week now, there's a football player getting accused of murder or rape or this and that.
Two football players today got arrested for murder.
Two today?
Yeah, Hernandez and somebody from, I think the Cleveland Browns got arrested for murder too.
Yeah, it's just getting out of control. There's kids that, look up to these players as role models. I'm sure there's a lot of kids up in, Massachusetts who looked at Hernandez as a role model, as an idol.
Bristol, Connecticut, where he's from.
In Bristol, yeah, and I think his mom is still a principal or teacher up in Bristol at one of the schools. Because I remember last year when the last Super Bowl the Pats were in, they were interviewing his mom, and I think she's a teacher or administrator at one of the schools in Bristol. So I'm wondering if anyone's reached out to her ever since all this has taken place.
I don't know. Or his brother. His brother was a big star at UConn.
Oh, is he?
Oh, it was. DJ Hernandez. He was a star at UConn. He was a high school football coach, and then he got fired because he stole the other high school football coach's playbook during one game.
Oh, wow.
And then now he's coaching at Brown or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's the Hernandez family.
Well, I appreciate the call, Joe. We're just about to wrap things up, but thank you for calling.
Thank you for letting me on air. It's been a fun time.
All right. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, we want to thank caller Joe for calling in. We just have about 6-7 minutes left. If anybody wants to try a crack at the open mic with Michael CUOMO, look at that. Authentic TV mug. You can call me at 203-234-0025. The trivia question, again, it's who was the first person to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel and survive, and in what year did it happen? We have 5 minutes left if you want to try and answer the question. You can win an open mic mug. If nobody obviously answers the question, then we will just recycle the mug. But I will tell you I have hundreds of them, so I'm looking to get rid of them. So, all right. Well, with only a few minutes left, I'll quickly run down some major sports headlines, and a couple of these stories are, a week or two old just because we weren't on the air. Chicago Blackhawks obviously just won the Stanley Cup, their second title in 4 years. Miami Heat have won their second straight NBA title. We are now hearing the LeBron-Michael Jordan comparisons. Will LeBron, Bosh, and Wade be in Miami next year? Time will tell. We shall see. Doc Rivers today, or yesterday, leaving the Celtics. Today it was official. Signed with the LA Clippers as their new head coach. Had a press conference today. So it's kind of weird to see Doc Rivers now in a West Coast, team. Speaking of the Buffalo Bills earlier, as Joe was talking about, the whole AFC East, Hall of Fame quarterback Jim Kelly, who I grew up, admiring and envying. Jim Kelly, the Hall of Fame quarterback, recently had surgery to remove some cancerous cells that were in his jaw. Actually had his whole left part of his jaw removed. And he is now cancer-free. Luckily, he stated on BuffaloBills.com he doesn't need any radiation or chemotherapy, as the doctors put it. So that's great news for Jim Kelly, a very devout, lifelong Buffalo Bills fan who made his career, obviously, 4 straight Super Bowls, didn't win any of them, which I still hear to this day. But him and his wife have established themselves up in the Buffalo area. That's where they live. That's where they call home. And it's kind of funny because Jim Kelly, during the draft, I think it was in 1984, 85, when he was drafted, he did not want to go to Buffalo. And once he was drafted by the Bills, he had to do the best act that he could do to make pretend he wanted to go there, and he was happy. But as we found out years later, he was actually not excited at all to play for Buffalo. I think he wanted to play for Miami. Was his first choice. Nice warm weather. He didn't want to play in a cold, city like Buffalo for a bad team at the time. But we all know what happened. He was one of the best quarterbacks who's ever played the game. Arguably one of the top 10 quarterbacks ever. Jim Kelly. So. Last but not least, on the sports front, New York Mets, really exciting, to when you hear about Mets, you don't hear about a lot of excitement, but now with Matt Harvey, this kid's for real. He's an ace pitcher from the New London area. I don't know if he's a New London Mystic or wherever, Groton, but he is from Connecticut, and he is lighting up the mound each and every time he takes the ball to the mound. He great record. He has some great stuff, and there's comparisons to him and Tom Seaver already, so we'll see. He needs about another 340 wins to match Tom Seaver, but he's well on his way. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's about a wrap. We are already done with our first show. It flew by as I expected. I want to thank Nick, Zach, and Brian in the control room for a great show tonight. I want to thank all of the callers tonight for calling in. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Nobody, unfortunately, got the answer to the trivia question. It was 1901. Annie Taylor was the person who went over Niagara Falls in a barrel and survived. First person. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is a wrap from the first show back on at NHTV. I want to thank you all for tuning in. And I will be back on next Wednesday night, 8 o'clock live, same time, same place. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, this is Michael Cuomo saying good night. Thank you for watching.